Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day and a new week, which of course means some new MLB Player Prop videos to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. We are coming off what was an overall solid week last week. 4 of the 6 videos we did last week, we were profitable, meaning we won some money in 4 of the 6 videos. The other 2, not so much, but overall, it was a profitable week. We kind of got back on track after what was a tumultuous couple of weeks, to say the least. So let's build on some of that positive momentum. We got 4 fresh new player props to kick off this week. Let's dive right in to today's MLB picks. All right, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first player prop in today's video comes from the Yankees Blue Jays game, 7:07 p.m. first pitch. We have Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. A little high in terms of odds. We're grabbing it for -150 over on ESPN Bet. A couple other sportsbooks with a couple of different odds available to you guys. And the data here is pretty solid across the board. You see 6 of his last 10 games. Aaron Judge has cashed the over, averaging 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And obviously, he's coming off a very impressive performance just last night against the Athletics, where he had 2 hits, 3 runs, and 4 RBIs. So a really solid finish to that series for Aaron Judge after the first couple of games, doing a whole lot of nothing. That's kind of the Aaron Judge experience. You got a few games where he does jack shit, and then he goes off and has this incredible game where he drives in a bunch of runs, hits a bunch of balls. That's the Aaron Judge experience. If we stretch out the data and look at the entire 2025 season, a 67% hit rate on the over, 56 out of 83 games this year. He's cashed the over, averaging 3.01 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. So this is something he has done pretty consistently all season long. The recent numbers are okay, even the last 20 games, just 50%, which is fine. You do see he had a little bit of a cold streak there in the end of that Red Sox series. Father's Day through the Angels series and whatnot. But overall this year, even taking into account this little cold stretch that he was on, he's still been cashing this the majority of the time. So pretty solid data there. And from a head-to-head perspective, some pretty good data here versus Toronto. Obviously, these two teams being AL East rivals, a lot of head-to-head data to go off of. He's played them 16 times since last season. He's cashed the over in 9 of those 16 matchups. That is, of course, a 56% hit rate, averaging 2.81 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 16 matchups with Toronto. If you do want to go ahead and narrow it down, he has cashed the over in 7 of his last 9 matchups with the Blue Jays, which obviously is very good. He's played them 3 times so far this year, all the way back in April. He has cashed the over in 2 of the 3 meetings this year. So pretty good data across the board here for Aaron Judge. Looking down below at the key matchup stats, Aaron Judge versus Max Scherzer sounds like a high-key, high-class matchup here, but Scherzer is returning from injury. He's only pitched, I believe, only 1 game this year, maybe 2. He's only pitched 8 innings this year, so it's probably 2 games, I would assume. Only pitched 8 innings this year, so doesn't have a lot of experience this season under his belt, so not a lot of data to go off of. But Aaron Judge versus Max Scherzer since 2018, 14 plate appearances, so a decent sample size from a head-to-head perspective. 286 batting average with 4 hits, 1 home run, and 2 RBI. So like I said, not bad. Judge, of course, being one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball, maybe even the best hitter in all of Major League Baseball, having a phenomenal season, 356 batting average, 221 WRC+. Versus right-handed pitchers, those numbers slightly increase in terms of batting average to 361. However, his WRC+ does decrease down to 214. And like I said, it's really hard to take into perspective what Max Scherzer is going to bring to the table here, because he only has 33 batters faced this year. The numbers have not looked very good, but it's a limited sample size, so it's hard. He's only faced 7 right-handed batters so far this year, so really there's not a ton to go off of. It's tricky. What we're really banking on is the fact that he has struggled so far this year, and he's still kind of getting the rust shaken off. And so I'm hoping that in this matchup, we have a rusty Scherzer who still isn't really in form, and who knows at this point in his career if he's going to jump back into form, versus an Aaron Judge, who obviously one of the best hitters in baseball. And if you do look at the last 30 days, he's still hitting over 300 versus right-handed pitcher. So it's still a good matchup across the board, and you're getting it -150. I know it's a little high, but for Aaron Judge, that's pretty good value. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's video, we have Orioles Rangers, 8:05 p.m. first pitch. We have Trevor Rogers of the Baltimore Orioles under 5.5 hits allowed. We're grabbing that for -140 over on DraftKings is what I'm grabbing it for. It is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. And the data is pretty solid here across the board. Trevor Rogers has cashed this under in 6 of his last 10 games, averaging 4.8 hits allowed per game over his last 10 games. You look at the entire 2025 season data. Now, that last 10 game data, a lot of that goes back to last season. He's only pitched 3 games so far this year for Baltimore. He's cashed the under in all 3 games, though. So a really solid start to this season. Again, like we talked about with Scherzer, it's a limited sample size in terms of knowing what he brings to the table due to the fact that we've only seen him pitch 3 times this year. But the data does look pretty solid here. From a head-to-head perspective, he has played the Rangers once this year, just a week ago, literally exactly a week ago, and he only gave up 3 hits and 0 runs in that game. So we got a pretty good recent amount of head-to-head data here. Now, the previous meeting back in June of last year, he gave up 6 hits, but again, that's over a year ago. The data is pretty solid. Again, limited sample size, but pretty solid here. And look at the Rangers now. Overall this year versus left-handed pitchers, they have not been that great at hitting bottom 10 in Major League Baseball. Now, they've improved over the last 30 games. We'll jump over quick to the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard. And you do see the last 30 days batting for Texas. Yes, the Rangers have gotten better, but they still are at best middle of the road, especially versus left-handed pitchers. 16th, not great in any particular category. They have a low strikeout percentage. That's positive for them, not so much for us. But overall, this just hasn't been a Rangers offense this year, or especially in the last 30 days, that has been all that spectacular. Now, you do have this number versus left-handed pitchers at home over the last 30 days, but granted, that's a very small sample size we're going off of there. They have had success in that specific instance, but again, you don't have a ton to go off of for that. So we're looking at the overall numbers here, and I think it's a pretty good matchup for a pitcher who's been off to a solid start this year, has a very recent amount of, literally a week ago, he did this, and again, he had a couple hits to spare as well. So I like the matchup for Trevor Rogers here, and for -140, again, the value is too good to pass up on. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's video, moving on to the Royals-Mariners game, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We have Vinny Pasquantino of the Kansas City Royals over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. A little better value here. We're grabbing it for -118 over on BetMGM, but again, it is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Now, I'll be honest, at first glance, the data is not fantastic with this player prop. It's not bad necessarily, but just not eye-opening in any way. 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 2.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. If we do go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view, for Vinny Pasquantino, a 52% hit rate on this over. So he is cashing it the majority of the time this year. Just, again, nothing crazy with this. 43 out of 83 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 2 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. And if we do go ahead and look at the head-to-head data, 3 of his last 6 matchups versus the Seattle Mariners, he's cashed the over. That is a 50% hit rate, averaging 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 6 matchups with Seattle. Now, to be fair, all 6 of those matchups do come from last year's data, so there's a little bit of outdated numbers here. We don't have any current recent data really to go off of. All of this is from over a year ago. Really what I'm banking on here is the individual matchup of Vinny Pasquantino's hitting numbers against the Mariners' pitching numbers, which are not so great, which obviously is very good for us. Now, Vinny Pasquantino versus George Kirby, it's a limited sample size, only 6 plate appearances since 2018. He does have a hit off of him with just the 1 hit in 6 plate appearances. Like I said, not a ton to go off of there. Looking at Pasquantino's individual numbers for this season, they are pretty solid. 270 batting average, 105.9 WRC plus. Versus right-handed pitchers like George Kirby, though, you do see a nice solid increase in a lot of the key numbers. Specifically, what we're focusing on here, batting average in WRC plus. 296 batting average, 129.8 WRC plus. Some solid increases from his overall numbers. Now, George Kirby, the pitcher for the Mariners, he's having, I would not say the best of seasons, and it actually gets worse when he faces off with left-handed batters like Vinny Pasquantino. 6.63 ERA, 3.33 batting average, 4.21 WOBA, 2.8 home runs per 9, so not very good numbers for him. Again, very good for us. And if we jump over the dashboard over on GuyBostonSports.com, we can go ahead and narrow the numbers down to the last 30 days. And you see Vinny Pasquantino over the last 30 days, the batting average versus right-handed pitchers, 371. So he's hitting 296 overall versus right-handed pitchers this year. But over the last 30 days, over the last month, it's been even better. 371 batting average, a 982 OPS, so really solid numbers. His runs above average versus pitch types over the last 30 have all been pretty solid except for the slider and the sort of cutter curve or knuckle curve, I should say. Looking at the pitch numbers for George Kirby, he does use the slider a lot, which we will be honest, right? And it's negative 0.7, which is not great, but it's not the worst. Obviously, it's a little concerning there, but look at the rest of his pitches. The sinker, he uses 24.1%. That's 2.3. Runs above average. He also utilizes the fastball the most, actually, and versus the fastball, also positive 0.7. So pretty good numbers across the board. Like I said, it's a pretty good matchup. George Kirby versus left-handed hitters this year has just not been a great story. And even if we go down below here, Seattle's bullpen it's solid. It's not great, but it's solid enough where I think that even when George Kirby gets pulled, Pasquantino should still be able to go ahead and make sure this over gets cashed. So again, not the best data of all time, but I do think the matchup is worth taking a look at. And for minus 118 odds, I think it's worth taking a bet on. In our fourth and final player prop in today's video, we have Giants Diamondbacks, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We have Ryan Nelson of the Diamondbacks under 2.5 earned runs, minus 145 over on DraftKings is what we're grabbing it for. And this is the best data of any player prop in today's video. Now, again, limited in terms of the starts this year. The last 10 game data still goes back to last season. So we look at just 2025 so far this year. He's pitched 7 games for the Diamondbacks. He's cashed the under in 6 of 7 games. So having a very strong year. Take that June 7th game against the Reds out of the equation. It's been really strong. 86% hit rate, averaging 1.71 earned runs per game. And again, that 7-run game definitely skews that average quite a bit. So like I said, pretty solid numbers. And looking at the head-to-head data here, he's got a pretty good record against the Giants. Again, being division rivals, they're going to face off in a little more regularly. Now, granted, again, like we talked about, all 3 of these matchups are from last year, so it's a little bit of outdated data. So take it with a grain of salt. But in each of the last 3 matchups against the Giants, he has cashed the under. So had some success against this Giants team. And looking down below, the Giants batting versus right-handed pitchers, it hasn't been good all year. It hasn't been good of late. And if we go over the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports, it's honestly a lot of the same. Now, it's not terrible. You look at versus right-handed pitchers the last 30 days. They do rank 16th, which is middle of the road. But overall, they just haven't been a great hit. They're not a terrible hitting team, although this data here does not look great. They haven't been a good one. Definitely not a good one. Again, we have to look at the side of it. The right-handed pitchers on the road over the last 30 days. It's just such a small sample size. We don't know how many games that actually is. For all we know, that could be like 2 games where they face a right-handed pitcher on the road, or 3 games, and that's what we're going off of. But they have had success hitting off of righties on the road. So take that with a grain of salt. I still think it's worth the matchup here. If you look at the Giants batting versus pitch, runs above average, really the only pitch they've had success against is the splitter. A lot of low numbers there. This is not a great hitting team. So I like the matchup for Arizona. I like the matchup. Look at the last 3 games for San Francisco. Runs scored per game last 3 games. Just 1.67 runs scored per game over the last 3 games. So this has not been a very good offense of late. I think it's a pretty good matchup here for Ryan Nelson and the Diamondbacks to close out today's video. That is it for me today, guys. If you made it to the end of today's video, please comment 13 down below. As always, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. It really does mean the world to us. Until tomorrow, guys, we'll be back with another MLB Player Prop video. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a great week. Let's keep that positive momentum and the positive energy coming from last week into this week. And let's go ahead and keep making more money, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Come on, baby. Let's go ahead and win.